Hi everybody, Dave here with a review of Pathfinder 2nd Edition's latest hardback release, the Lost Omens Pathfinder Society Guide. This book releases today, and full disclosure, Paizo did provide me an advanced copy of it for reviewing, but this is not a paid advertisement and I will be providing my unbiased opinions. So first, let's talk about numbers. This is the fourth book in the Lost Omens line. It retails for $34.99 and has 127 pages of content. Now that price is $3 cheaper than the Lost Omens World Guide, so it is nice to see Paizo settling in on this lower price point rather than inflating it. However, at 127 pages of content, this offering has just a little bit less between the covers than the previous Lost Omen books, which were around 135 pages. You can also purchase the PDF version from Paizo.com for $24.99. Now, what do you get for your $25 or $35? If you've read any of the previous Lost Omen books, then you know what you're in for. This is a setting book high on flavor and fuel for your imagination, with new player options sprinkled throughout. And all of it is focused on the Pathfinder Society, and it's worth mentioning that this book is about the organization that exists within the game's narrative and not the real-world organized play campaign, although most of the content in this book is applicable to those games as well. The book's content is divided into 4 chapters. The first chapter provides an introduction to the Pathfinder Society, detailing its history from its humble beginnings as a social club for adventurers to the global power that it is today. It provides an overview of what life is like in the society, and also puts forth an argument that Pathfinder agents are more than just common tomb robbers. As part of the introductory chapter to the book, it also provides introductory guidance to players in the form of 5 new backgrounds: Archaeologist, Pathfinder Recruiter, Spell Seeker, Trailblazer, and Translator. A lot of detail is provided in this chapter regarding the Pathfinder Society's purpose and where they fit into the larger campaign world, as well as fun flavor bits such as a sidebar giving you Pathfinder Society slang. The book's second chapter details the Society's different factions. Although these factions were briefly discussed in the Lost Omens character guide, they really go into a deep dive of each of them here. Each faction's write-up includes a detailed history, section on faction-specific gear, and a biography of the faction's leader. The 4 most common factions are covered in this book, including the Envoys Alliance, which is focused on diplomacy and community building, the Grand Archive, dedicated to preserving knowledge and history, the Horizon Hunters, who explore the unknown, and the Vigilant Seal, which protects the world from the dangers that may be unleashed while exploring the unknown or unearthing lost truths and otherworldly secrets. Chapter 2 also includes background information on the Society's training institutions: the Scrolls, the Swords, and the School of Spells. This section does not offer any new archetypes, but does provide all new feats for previously published archetypes. The Pathfinder Agent archetype gets 13 new feats, Scrollmasters receive 9 new feats and a new focus spell, the Spellmaster archetype also gets 9 new feats and 2 new focus spells, and Swordmasters are provided with a whopping 16 new feats for their archetype. Chapter 3 of this new book turned out to be my favorite. It's all about the Pathfinder lodges or regional bases that dot the Inner Sea and beyond. The write-up for each lodge is very similar to the way nations were presented in the Lost Omens World Guide, detailing their history, location, services, allies, and enemies. Each section also provides a biography of each lodge's venture captain or their leader, and specific information about how that lodge functions and who their chief rivals are. The most interesting part of this for me was just how varied the lodges were, and mostly avoided feeling like generic fantasy or cookie-cutter copies of one another. The Exalted Lodge, for example, operates within the nation of Rasmaron, and this is the kind of thing that I would want to explore in my own games. What's it like operating a Pathfinder team within the jurisdiction of Rasmir the Living God? How does that nation's strict theocracy and dictatorship work in concert with a Pathfinder lodge? and just little details of how life there works, like how a Razmiri Pathfinder's Wayfinder would be different from another Pathfinder's Wayfinder. Or the Grinning Pixie. This is a sailing ship that serves as a completely mobile Pathfinder lodge. If you are running a game in the Shackles or anything that's pirate themed, the Grinning Pixie is a great option. And there are many more lodges, each with their own unique twist, location, and purpose. Throughout this chapter, new gear is also provided to support the agents operating from those lodges, like magical nose chains worn by agents of the Farseer Tower or special snowshoes worn at the Ice Fairy Lodge. And the final chapter of the book is the most player heavy. It includes gear players can purchase, services they can employ such as fixers or guides to help them get around unfamiliar locations and new cultures, or hiring researchers who can dig up valuable information for a campaign, and a host of new player options provided by Academy instructors. One of the key benefits of joining the Pathfinder Society is gaining access to specialized training and all new feats not available to outsiders. Want to learn how to throw magic cards like X-Men's Gambit? Stella Fane can teach you that art. Want to take your monk to their next stage of perfection? Malika Sanvara can train you in the Reign of Ember's stance. I mean, it has an attack called Explosive Death Drop. What more do you want? The book closes out with a section titled Secrets of the Pathfinder Society that provides more gear options for Aeon Stones and unique Wayfinders, as well as new familiar options, which was probably the last thing I expected in this book, including having a swarm of Aeon Stones as your familiar, Dwemercat familiars, or even having little dull poppets for familiars. To sum up, this is a lore and narrative heavy campaign guide with some surprising new options for players too. In the prose column, it provides a lot of history and backstory into the premier player organization of the Pathfinder setting, gives a glimpse into life as a Pathfinder, provides a lot of imagination fuel in the form of vastly different lodges and factions within the society. It offers more new player options than expected, including dozens of new Pathfinder archetype feats, a few new focus spells, new familiars, and plenty of new gear options tailored to the Pathfinder Society's needs. And as cons are sometimes I found the minutiae into the history and background of the society to be more than what most players and GMs would need. At times the detail felt a little bit exhausting. Also, every lodge's section discusses their enemies and rivals, but there are no real details provided. The biggest piece of missing information to me was about the society's foes. Protagonists are only as strong and compelling as their antagonists, so I would have really appreciated a couple pages about organizations that oppose the Pathfinder Society, the Aspis Consortium in particular. In a similar vein, I also felt there could have been more attention given to the dark side of the society, where the line is blurred between preserving history and plundering the treasures of other cultures. That is mentioned in the book. I just felt like there's a lot of room to expand on that and provide more drama for a game. I would recommend the Pathfinder Society Guide to players who have characters already associated with the Pathfinder Society or are interested in exploring that with their characters, and also to lorehounds and GMs looking for fun ways to weave their story into some new narrative spaces surrounding the Pathfinder Society. I would not recommend the book to players focused on characters with no desire at all to affiliate with the Pathfinder Society. I would not recommend it to anyone who really prefers crunch-heavy books as opposed to lore and setting books, and also to GMs who want detailed information about adversaries, as there are no enemy stat blocks or monsters or other similar details in this book. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or if there's anything you'd like to know about the Pathfinder Society Guide before you make a purchasing decision. And as always, I would like to thank the patrons who support me in the making of these videos. If you're interested in giving some support as well, the easiest way to do that is by subscribing to the channel, so please take a second and do that if you haven't already. And also there is a link to my Patreon included in the video's description. If you do pick up the Pathfinder Society Guide, let me know what you think in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching, take care, and happy gaming.